Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another week of Lightning Talks. For those of you who do not know me, I am Jen Crawford, and I have the pleasure of co-hosting Lightning Talks alongside our practice area consultants each week on Thursdays at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. Today, I have the pleasure of co-hosting this space with John Kneeland, our design director, on building brands. So super excited about this, and I will hand it over to you, John.
Thank you, Jen. This is actually a really great little chance to chat about this. Um, there's a lot of misconception around what a brand is and how it works and how do you build one. And this is just a little bit of an overview to kind of show how much work really needs to go into a brand and why to do it a certain way. So let's dig in. So one thing I always like to tell people when we talk about a brand, this is my favorite quote by Lisa Gansky, the CEO of Atofo. She said that your brand is your voice to the world and your product is a souvenir. Now, what does this mean? This means essentially that who you are and what your company represents is almost more important than what you make as a product. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but that's how most of the brands in the world really exist. They exist to support an idea. They are there to support the boundaries and the goals of the company itself, and that inspires a lot of people to be able to make decisions when it comes to engaging with their products. So, let's say we look at some metrics in here. I just got through some quick ones in here. I'm not going to overwhelm people with numbers, but uh, a Nielsen survey said that 59% of people rely on brand trust. So they what that means is they prefer to buy new products from brands they know. That's 60% of people. Now, Forbes ran a huge study, and what they found out was that consumers are 4 times more likely to purchase from purpose driven companies. So if you have something that is very motivating that people can align to, then they feel more inclined to activate with your brand, to engage with your brand, to buy something from you. They're willing to spend time, money, investment, whatever. Uh, that's 4 times more likely for those specific purpose driven companies. Now, they're 6 times more likely to protect that brand if they're having a challenging moment. So, if something controversial comes up, or if they are maybe they're not making as much money as they were hoping to, and they're blasting on social media that they really need to make sales in order to stay in business. If people really love that brand, they are 6 times more likely to be able to push that messaging out to protect that organization because they believe in that brand. 4.5 times more likely to refer people to friends, to families, to coworkers for that specific brand. And then they're 4.1 times more likely to just implicitly trust what that brand has to say. This is not like small percentages. This is massive. This is huge. 4 times. 4 times is the minimum. It's the smallest metric other than the 59%, which is encompasses a massive group. I think it was something like 8,000 people they interviewed for that first one for Nielsen. So, what exactly is a brand? And we know it's important now, but what's the big deal about it? Well, take a look at this logo wall. Now, in our industry, we see a lot of these logo walls presented when we do pitches and when we work with clients and things like that to be able to showcase the different kinds of clients and things we work with. However, as an individual, when I look at this list, I have feelings that are either that range from strong to weak and passionate to dispassionate depending on what brand it is. So depending on the look and feel of the brand, I'm going to say, okay, I assume that something is going to be luxury based on how the either the name, either it's recognizable, the shape of it, if it's clean and elegant, or if it's colorful, I'm going to assume it's fun. Then there's color theory behind oh, we choose red because people associate it with with hunger or with or with moving fast. So there's a lot of different types of emotions that are evoked when you look at a brand. And I use this for logos because normally this is what people think brand is. People think brands are logos. It's a very small part, yet an incredibly important part because of the impact that each one of these logos tells. Each one of these tells a story. Every single one. And millions, if not billions of dollars have been dumped into them by each of the companies that have been represented here. So what does a brand need? So I said, like, yeah, you need a logo and it's important, but what about the other stuff? Well, you really only need 6 things. They're pretty big though. You need an environment. Every brand needs a home. You need to find out what your key demographics are. You need to find out what your target audiences are. That's the first thing you need to know. The next is collateral, like print, signage, packaging, swag, things that help reinforce and spread the word about what you do as a company and how you do it. Advertising is incredibly important because, but this could be anything. It could be a website, it could be online banners, paid advertisements, TV spots, a billboard on the highway. Finding a way again to get that messaging out in a way that's different from collateral, where a collateral it's usually either given away or provided as a reward. Advertising is served to people. Content, this is like social media, blogs, white papers, interviews, case studies, capturing stories that really support the brand and what we do. Sales is massively important in a brand because they're the biggest brand champions. Customer service, they're like the town criers of any company because they're the most vocal champions because that's their job, is to make sure that people are happy with the product and that they are hyped up, that they're like, oh, you want to work with us, we're amazing because look at all the stuff we have, trust me, don't trust sales is massive. We always have to have sales. And then the rest is internal. It's us, it's the people, it's the employees, the people that make up the company in general. A good employer brand really ensures like top tier talent wants to work for you because it helps keep really good people under one roof. So that being said, with those 6 top level things, those are the things you need, but how do you actually build it? So when the title here says positive image plus standing out equals brand success, that means that people like you and people can see you. So you need to have likability and visibility. And in order to figure that out for whatever brand that is you're trying to build is on a 3-part system. You have to strategize what you want your brand to be. You have to create a visual brand identity, and then you have to come up with a marketing strategy and campaign. So it's what story do we tell? How do we convey it? And on which platforms? So brand strategy will map out how the brand is different, how it's trustworthy, it's memorable, likable, who's your ideal customer. This is the first step you need to take on whether or not you're going to create a brand from the ground up or even just refreshing something that's been around for a while. Now, you wouldn't build a home without a blueprint, right? So it's the same with a brand. You can think about brand strategy as the blueprint for how you want the world to see your business. An effective and comprehensive brand strategy should always include like a critical foundation piece. It needs to be, it's most businesses overlook this because they want to jump right into the stuff. They want to get right into, oh, let's go into a marketing campaign. Let's redo the website. This has to come first. Otherwise, you don't know what you're working with. You don't know who you're talking to, and you don't know what you're trying to actually convey. It needs to be planned out and be incredibly strategic because this is an expensive thing. This is not something that's very simple or cheap to do. So doing brand discovery, understanding like where you are and what kind of brand do you want to build, what's your mission. Doing competitor research, finding out where you are in the industry in comparison with everybody else. How many people you're going to have to fight with to be able to get specific types of clients or customers, and who are those clients and customers? What are the people that we're trying to engage with? And then how do you talk to them? What's the right way? Is it incredibly professional and using really high level vocabulary, or is it something that's a little bit more casual, that's a little bit more laissez-faire? And then now that you know how to talk to people, what are you going to say to them? That's where the message and story comes in. All of this is incredibly important, and before you do anything else, you have to have this done. Now we get down to the part where everybody thinks brand is. This is the brand identity, and it's also the biggest piece that requires the most amount of work. First, you need a logo. Like we looked at that logo wall. This is where the important stuff comes in. Finding out how your logo works and how it conveys the entire sense of your brand and company is incredibly important. You know, businesses rise and fall sometimes with how recognizable their logo is or how closely it's resembling other logos in the industry. It's a lot to consider, but it is one of the key factors. The next is trying to figure out how do you convey language, and this means color language and font language. How do you present, your verbals? How do you like what colors are consistent across the board? How like and why? Like why do you choose certain colors? And color theory and color psychology help move that along quite a bit. Now then, patterns and icons. Like this means design language. This means a layout. This means iconography sets. Are you going to use Font Awesome or are you going to use Google Material? Or do you want to make something from scratch? What about other icons that are not included that we may want to have that are specific? Do we need to hire an illustrator? Who knows? That's part of patterns and icons. Now, once you have that first three, you can start making stuff. So first stuff is universal stuff, collateral, swag. It's things that are simple and inexpensive to make that we're planning on being able to distribute anyway. So like a mug or a mouse pad or a t-shirt or things like that, or a brochure, business cards. That's what I mean by collateral. Then it's the digital properties, the places that have much higher lift and a lot wider of an audience. This is where you have to tackle the website, you tackle social, you start working on any digital platform as far and figuring out what kind of platforms you want to be able to tackle. Maybe Glassdoor is going to be more effective for you than LinkedIn for a variety of reasons. Maybe you don't want to go digital with posting jobs for some reason, or maybe there's some other potential way to be able to leverage customers that you can enter into a sales funnel. But all of that needs to be taken into consideration when you're building that particular property. And then the rest of it is how do you attract those people to the collateral, to the website? That's with your messaging, with the stuff that you actually put on the website. You can build a website and have it be really ugly and have nobody look at it, even though it could be beautifully designed. Um, you know, it, Completely device agnostic and 100% responsive and absolutely gorgeous, almost no load times, yeah, because there's no content, there's no videos, there's no photography, there's no human factor, there's nothing aesthetically pleasing necessarily to be able to bring you in there. So half of it is visuals and half of it is how those visuals connect to your verbals. Then you have your advertising. Now that we've kind of gotten the organic stuff out of the way, we start branching out, reaching out to new people, finding new ways to interact with potential clients and customers. And then all of this is wrapped up in a very strict set of guidelines we call the style guide. This would be either a finished printed book and a digital repo that will allow people to be able to pull specific assets or brand requirements very simply and easily. That way, all the work that's been done ahead of time, you can just go to the style guide, find what you need, and start building your actual brand strategy itself. And this is actually supposed to be brand marketing. So, brand marketing, ignore the top, is about user experience, SEO, social media marketing, email campaigns, and again, paid advertising. This is the way businesses or organizations highlight or bring awareness to themselves. It's about connecting values and voice to the right audience through really strategic communication. So together, these channels are really fundamental, and now we're starting to get brand awareness. We're starting to get growth. Like we talk to people about how they interact with our brand. That's what UX is. We make sure that search engines can find us, and that when we do have specific content, it's tagged appropriately so people can search for it. We start to invest a little bit more into social media marketing, and use those data and analytics to start targeting new people. We go back to basics, hit those email campaigns, get those cold calls in, and then paid ads is paid ads. Maybe we take out a Facebook ad, maybe we do something cool on Instagram, have a video that we want to publish and promote the company. So now that we kind of understand how brands are really built, like what you need in order to build one, let's talk about like what's left. So there's 11 steps I like to try and have. And this is just really small, really simple. I'm happy to get into more of the technical aspects of this, but I wanted to kind of tell the story from a high level. This is also an immense amount of work, but you're kind of getting what I'm throwing down. So one is discover the purpose behind your brand. This means about you need to have a clear mission. You need to know what your core values are. What is your boundaries? Why are you even in business? What are you trying to represent? And then also, how do you view yourself as a part of that brand? This is very soul searchy, high level mission statement, core values exercise. Without this, you do not have a brand. This is the very first thing, and it's also one of the more challenging things to do, is to be able to say, I don't want to associate with this, but this is important to me. This is my boundary when it comes to these things. Then you can start branching off to number two, which is, okay, now you know what you want to do for a brand. Who else is doing it? How many other people are you going to fight with? And how many other folks are going to potentially take business away from you? How are you different from them? Once you get that in, number three, find out what your audience is. So define their personas, get their demographics. Again, go back to those UX basics. Talk to people and find out what they expect from you. Number four is about that refining the brand mission and the vision statement. So all the work that you did in number one, make sure that's really clear. Make sure that the writing, that the storytelling, everything is there to be able to make sure that people understand what you're trying to convey. And the less buzzwordy, the better. The less we're using, specific jargon, the better. We want to target everybody, and everyone has a lot of similar values, but trying to connect those values with the right words to make sure that our message gets through to them. Why do we go to work every day? Number five, what are our key qualities and benefits that we offer? How do the things we make, the things we sell, the stuff that we offer make us different? Because that's going to be the biggest differentiator. That's what people are going to see when they associate that specific logo. What's the difference between Ford and Ferrari? They're both built in 12 to 16 weeks, but one's $250,000 entry and the other's 20 grand. It's still a car. That's the power of branding. Next is to try and say, this is going back into that. How do we take that brand voice and tone and make it real? How do we carve it into stone to make sure that our company's mission, our audiences, the industry are all in together? That has to be the next step. Then once you have that, then you can start branching out and discovering a personality that your brand could potentially have, because our clients and customers are always going to want stuff to be built around them. They're going to expect that we are going to be catering to their needs, and it's not going to be disingenuous. That we want to be able to work with people. We want to be able to work with a very specific group of people because of what we offer and because of how well we've worked together in the past. And then we take that story and we capture it, and then we turn it into supporting messaging. So it's like, who is the brand? What exactly is the brand? Why choose the brand? All these things have to be conveyed properly. Then you go into the brand logo and the tagline. So like, we don't even get to actually designing until almost the end of this whole process, where now that we have this plethora of information and all of this predefined brand guidelines that we're building out, how do we represent that visually in very simple, small, potentially 100 by 100 pixel logo? How do we make an impact in that 100 by 100 pixel space? The next is now, and the last two are going to be integrate your brand into every aspect of your business. Everything you do has to follow those rules. The boundaries you set up, the things that you promote, the story you're telling. People, every single person that works for the company or works for that brand is going to be expected to represent it. So that's something that has to be signaled, it has to be displayed, it has to be learned to understand when you join a specific brand, you are going to be integrated into the story. Because brand building never stops, ever. And then it's just stick it out. Stay true to what you figure out. Once you have your brand book, once you kind of know what you want to build and how you want to build it and the messaging you want to have, and you've got your website and you've got your services, then you can just stay the course, because that's what builds the trust, is to know that whoever you work with, whoever works for you, they're going to take their experience and tell that story somewhere else. So branding is really difficult. It's challenging, but it's incredibly significant, because a real process can transform any business from a small player to like really in the big leagues. You can find out that your customers really want to trust you. They want to trust what you sell them, and then they're going to come back for more. Like how many people say, "Oh, I need to go get a Band-Aid out of the cabinet." Nobody says adhesive medical strip. They say Band-Aid. That's the kind of trust they have in that Johnson and Johnson brand. So that's where any brand should want to get to. They want to be not only a household name, but be synonymous with the product that it's being built on. So make your message consistent, have a visual identity to reinforce it, make sure that it's in every aspect of your customer service, and then go from storefront to website, get your personal interactions together, and then always have your strategy first. Ta-da!